Hi, I'm Tiffany, and I'm part of Group 16 for the ENG 6 final. And I just want to go into how our game works and also a little bit of the code of what I did. So here we're going to start on the very beginning. And so this is when you can click one of the two buttons. We're going to start on offline, and then it's going to take us into the actual app. So if you're wondering on how to play, that's okay. You can click the how to play button, and then it'll pop up. So here we go, and it just basically goes over the gameplay, scoring, and sabotage. And so in terms of the actual gameplay, we can just get right onto it. If you want to listen to music, and then you can shut it off whenever you'd like. So then we can update our names, and then we start by rolling.
It's strategic to go turn by turn because every single one gives you the opportunity to press sabotage. So that's the one that you want to wait for the right opportunity to do it because that's an absolute game changer. So in this case, this person got 7 and they can click sabotage, and now all of their points got divided by 2. And so this person got 2, and so they can also choose to divide.
Game ends once someone reaches 10 or higher. So then we're on loser and winner, and that's pretty much the gameplay. I also wanted to mention that here you can see who is the winner, and so that's based on the name that you typed in there. In terms of the startup page, it's nothing too fancy. It's just running and deleting the code once you push the button, depending on which button you push. And so into the actual one, I was in charge of the entire UI and the layout of how it looks, and then also on like how the images present themselves depending on certain outcomes, and then we'll get into that a little bit later. So in order for the dice faces to correlate with the dice values, I'm set up 2 arrays, and they're each in the same position of the index, and that allowed for a little bit later over here. So then when you're doing the dice rolls and they get randomly number generated from over here, then it just indexes that same value, it becomes an index for the dice faces, and then it chooses which picture because it's correlated from the very top of the properties. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then also, we only have the images appear, if you notice in the very beginning of the game, once there's an actual value. So once you push that button, because then you don't have those gray images. And then also there's the enable visible part of the game. So once you push the button 10 times, that's basically when the game ends no matter what. And so then that's how we stop the player from continuing on the game, or else you could just keep clicking indefinitely. When you go into the game on the visibility, over here on the outcomes, that's just correlated to a certain picture that we have downloaded, and then it just turns on the same as the dice roll. When you press a certain number and a certain outcome comes out on the callback, then that means that the images are now able to be seen, and then the visibility is on, so that you're not just showing a gray image over the table. And so then if we go on to the rules, if you look over here, it just runs the rules once you push that button, and then it goes into the code of the rules, and then once you press the close, then it deletes the app. So in terms of the music video, that means that when you press on, the audio plays, and then when you press off, the audio stops, and then when you press on again, it restarts the audio. And so that was pretty much the extent of my responsibilities for this final.
Hi everyone, my name is Oliver Shu and I'm in charge of online part, and right now I'm just going through my code and how it works. So first I use a SyncSpeak read and read the channel ID 2 and to check if there's already a number in it or not. If there's a number in it, so it means there's already a player write the number into that field, and then I'm the indicator 2. So or else I don't read any number in it, and then I just upload the number into that field, and then I keep reading another field. Just like when the other player reads the number, he will update his number to that field too. Then we got 2 players with identification with 2 and 3, and so they can upload their number to the to the different channel, and then for the channel 2, for the indicator 2, they can write their number to the 3 and in the field 6, 7, 8, and read the channel 1, and in the field 3, 4, 5, just a random field that I said. And then you can avoid that kind of MATLAB only read the most recent number that sometimes may cause you read 3 number that is not a number. And also with identification, you can make sure the number you read will be busy another player instead of my number. And also, I use a if function to make sure that the number is the most recent number instead of the previous number I want. And therefore, let's look at how it works. And first, I push the row, and I also push in my computer. And then I read it down. it's 1555. And then let's see. Yeah, you see here, it's another player. I read the other players, and also I can read my point right here. And then that's all. Thank you for your listening and watching the video.
Hello, I'm Yulong from the group 16, and my work is to generate a UI table and calculate the points each player will get in each round and do a summation of all those points. Basically, the code is inside a callback function. Since there are two callback functions, so there are also two parts of my code. Here is a part 1 and here is a part 2. And each time when the player push the button, the code will get the results from the logical analysis and put the results into the column 1 or column 3 of the UI table, depending on which player you are. And it will do a summation of all the previous points you get and put the results into the column 2 or column 4, and then pass the value of the summation to the winner analysis.
Hi, this is Bobby. I'm in group 16 of Engineering 6 final project, and we are doing the dice game right now, and I'm in charge of the logical part and the musical part. And let me show you my code.
First of all, I want to start with the function startup function. So basically, there are four important here, which is num_push 2, the name value 2. Base of them has to be initialized at the first time, so we can connect it with the row button at that later on are going to be used. And let's start with the row button push. Basically, we have two row button push. I'm just going to talk 1, 2 because they basically are the same. So when you push the button, the num_push would be adding 1, which would later on connect with the table.
So basically, since I'm in charge of the musical and logical part, I'm going to show you the musical and the logical part of
the function of the coding. So basically, we start with when we push the button, we start with the sound effect that rolling dice have, and we pause for 5 seconds, and then we get the numeric value of the dice, and then connect it with the picture. So here's the logical analysis of the numeric value of the dice. We basically have 3 rules that we have to follow. One is 2 in a row, which if there's 2 identical number shows up on the one dice run. The second one is 3 in a row, which means it has 3 identical numbers shows up in one run for one player. The third one, which is 3 in sequence, which means if it got a sequential number like 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, and any reverse version of that, which just means if it contains that 3 numbers sequentially, you will get 4 points, and any other sequence will get 1 point. That's basically the logical analysis. And we're gonna connect points for the in the table and show up in the table. And I'm gonna just jump right into winner analysis, which is if one of the player get more than 10 points and the other one doesn't, the winner will be assigned, and we're gonna play the audio and we're gonna show the image, and that's it. And I'm gonna show you how the sabotage function is working and explain it. And the sabotage function, we both have a sabotage function for each player, and each player can only use that within the same round for only one time. So only situation that the player can be used, which means this button is conditionally. So if they both have the same round and the opponent player get a number like 2 in a row or 3 in a row, the button will be functioned properly. Other than that, the button would not work. Even if you push it, it would just go straight right off, and you just lose the chance of using that properly based on the rules. So if the opponent get a 2 in a row, the table of the point, single round point of the opponent will be divided by 2. So each single round point will be divided by 2. If the opponent gets 3 in a row, which means 3 identical number in one round, in the same round as you, and you want to cut him off, when you push the sabotage button, the single round point will be clear. The previous single round point will be clear all to 0. So it will show up directly after the round in the summation. So that's basically what I did for my part, and thank you for listening.